what was my business plan that got me to where I am? I had no plan. I still have no plan. I have no idea what I'm doing. Hello everyone, my name is Gili. I'm the editor-in-chief of Joyce magazine online and on print, and today we're going to talk about fashion and business. Joyce magazine is an independent magazine. We have our online edition, we have our printed edition that comes out twice a year. So far we made 9 printed editions and the 10th one is coming this March. We create our own content. Joyce magazine have only original content, that is something that makes us unique, make us stand out. Alongside being the editor-in-chief of Joyce magazine, I'm also a photographer. I do art direction for fashion brands, and I'm also a social media personality. Can I say that? And I also have a social media channel. On Joyce magazine on Instagram, I have 115,000 followers. This is a platform where I feature all the content that I create and my projects that are close to my heart. Creating only original content is extremely important for me and for the magazine. This is something that through the years I've developed, and I realized that this is what makes the magazine successful. It is one of the crucial points that make us unique. When I started Instagram, it was nothing like it is today. I started Instagram when it was really unpopular, and it was some kind of like a small Facebook that you just see photos and they all were squared. For me, it was just another place where I can feature content that I create. I was a student, I studied structural engineering, nothing to do with fashion, but I just came to Florence and I was traveling around Europe and I really wanted to put my photos somewhere that it looked pretty, and Instagram layout was the perfect way to do it. When I had to choose my username for Instagram, I chose Joyce. My name in Hebrew, Gili, means joy, and I decided to call it Joyce World to have it as a platform that is under my name, but it's easier to people to pronounce than Gili. After a while I created more and more photos and I wanted to put it in some sort of like a web space, so I've got the domain Joyce magazine as just as a gallery, as a place where I can put my photos online. I had no business plan. Well, when I started, there was no such thing. It didn't even occur to me that a magazine, an independent magazine, could come from nowhere. I always thought that it had to be part of a bigger organization. It could not be independent. But also in 2013, the opportunities that you had as an individual person to create something that will reach a certain audience were very limited. So at the time, the word influencer was not really referred to an individual that have a large social media following. And to be honest, I didn't really saw it as a career. It didn't exist as a career at that time. I just wanted to create beautiful photos. So for me to have a business plan, it was not even an option. I think everybody back then was just documenting their life. And if you had a good idea, a good vision, if you lived your life in a beautiful way, it could have gained you a large following. So after a while, I've started to see that people that I've never met before, people from countries that I've never even visited, starting following my content on social media. And I realized that people care about the content that I create, people that I never even knew, people that I don't know. What started as a small online community slowly grew. I think it was a combination of the content that I created that satisfied the need of that community, but also a certain time in Instagram and social media there was a space to grow. So when I had a large following of social media, I've realized that that's what I want to do. I wanted to create content and I want people to enjoy my content. I wanted to tell my story in a way that will make people excited about it. To have this large following when social media was just starting, it was very exciting for me, and I realized this is what I wanted to do. The problem was that when it became really popular, I had to maintain it, and this is where the business part started. In order to be not just another person online that really loves fashion, and I wanted to, in a way, legitimize what I do, I've decided to ask for the accreditation from the National Chamber of Italian Fashion and to go to Milan and cover the fashion shows from there. Once I received the accreditation, I realized there's a power of collaboration with already established organizations that will legitimize what I do, will give me a stamp. It's not just in your head. You're good at what you do. After being in Milan for 2 seasons, I've continued to London Fashion Week and got accreditation from the British Fashion Council, and it was a natural step to me to go to Paris and cover couture and ready-to-wear collections. Listening to my community and understanding that they want to see something that's hidden while trying to stabilize the business and making it accredited, making it legitimate, I realized that covering backstage and showing the process of fashion being made and the runway being made was something that's needed. Every time that I saw a lot of photographers in one place, I just moved to another place to see if I can get the unique photos that they all didn't get. So by March 2020, Joyce Magazine already covered first-hand original content from the backstage of 8 different fashion weeks. 8 countries, right? 9 if you consider couture. I was lucky enough to be invited to Ljubljana Fashion Week, Belgrade Fashion Week, Budapest Central European Fashion Week, Moscow Fashion Week, and Copenhagen Fashion Week. All of those we covered first-hand and original content, never using any content that I didn't create with my team. Taking the decision on creating content, original content in all of those fashion weeks is very time-consuming, but in a way it felt that is something that my audience really wanted to see, something that is made originally, that was made for them and was not created just as press material. When something like COVID happens, and even if it's something that is smaller that just impacts you and your community and your life, it is very important to adapt. Coming back from Paris, I realized that I can no longer continue the magazine as it was until that point. For Joyce Magazine, it was absolutely crucial that we will cover firsthand all the content, and in lockdown and the world going into lockdown, it was impossible for us to get anywhere, and actually nothing was really happening, so we had to find a new way to connect with our audience. Basically, my business plan disappeared. At this point, it is extremely hard to build a new business plan or to follow some business model. COVID was never studied in fashion school, it was never studied in management school, and it's really hard to assess and to know if the world will get back to normal. During the first months of lockdown, I had a really good amount of time to think with myself, what did I do until then that made me successful? And I realized that the key for me was flexibility. Then I realized that I have to be flexible from that point, and instead of trying to stick to the original plan and not releasing any issue until fashion weeks will be back, I realized that I need to be flexible and change the way the magazine worked. The second tool of my business plan is my community. My community is extremely important to me. If it's my personal community and my team here in Florence, or it's my international community online, it is really important to listen to them and to communicate with your community. A community can be of 6 people, and if those 6 people care enough about what you do, you will have a really good start. You will have a really good indication if other people would like what you do. Once I realized that I have a really good community here in Florence and an international community online, I had to listen to what they want. I had to listen to what they need in this time, and I've decided to create things that they can relate to at that time, instead of something that is so far-fetched. Once the COVID restrictions were released a bit, I realized that I can go back to shooting and I need to create my own backstage. The third thing that I realized at the time is that actually mainstream doesn't really exist anymore. That niche is becoming the new mainstream, and I think that became even stronger in the past 2 years during lockdown. People were listening to their own rhythm. People were finding their own individuality. They had so much time to spend with themselves. So I feel this is something that started to develop, and I think it was strong before lockdown, and I think it's becoming stronger and stronger every day. Joyce Magazine was always a niche magazine, but I think that we're discovering more of our identity as time goes by. As a niche magazine focusing on photography and film, for me it was a problem to find a laboratory during lockdown to even process the film that we shot in Joy's studio. So during lockdown, we've developed a small laboratory where I can process the film that we shot on Joy's studio. This first step of being really flexible made us overcome our issues. It's a certain open-mindedness that is necessary in order to build a business. You always have limitations, no matter if they're from COVID or from any other reason, but those limitations can get your creativity to the next step and create something that nobody else is doing. The last step for me for my business plan is always to understand the definition of success. Some people will define success as being unbelievably rich, and if this is what you want to do, don't be an independent fashion magazine. Print is really expensive. Having a team is very expensive. Doing your photos on film is very expensive. Bringing fashion from everywhere in the world is very expensive. Defining what's successful for me was the key to make the magazine successful. Joy's magazine have 10 printed edition and is completely independent. We create our own content and we're not dependent on anyone outside of our community to create our content. This is a huge success for me. Even though it is not the biggest money making in the world, and if I actually want to make a fortune, I better start learning coding or programming or anything else that have to do with technology. Being an independent fashion magazine editor will not necessarily get me there. It's definitely satisfied my will to create something that is unique.